Alexandria Quartet? Angela and Dave.
Lawrence Durrell.
Correct. In 1963, Lawrence Durrell's brother Gerald founded which zoo? Angela and Dave.
The Jersey or Channel Islands ones.
Yes, the Jersey Zoo. Today, in 1982, who was granted a divorce from Senator John Warner? Desi and Derek.
Liz Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor's right. How many times has Elizabeth Taylor... I'll finish the question. How many times has Elizabeth Taylor been married? Desi and Derek.
9.
No, offer it to Angela and Dave.
8.
8 is right. They being, in order, Conrad Hilton Jr., Michael Wilding, Mike Todd, Eddie Fisher, Richard Burton, twice, of course, John Warner and Larry Fortensky. Quite a lineup. So at the end of that round, we find Angela and Dave on 58. The gap narrows with Desi and Derek, who are still ahead with 73. After which we'll take a short break here in the studio to give you folks at home a chance to win a pair of round-the-world air tickets. Have a go at this.
But it has to be creative. It doesn't matter. Even if I were to get into the kitchen, I might try to whip up something that had never been done before. It may not be any good, but I'd have an awful lot of fun doing it.
Gloria Swanson taking creativity into the kitchen today in 1968. In which classic 50s film did she play Norma Desmond? Was it A, Wall Street, B, Sunset Boulevard, or C, Tobacco Road? If you know the answer, ring 0891 339900. One winner selected at random from the right answers can choose an electronic personal organiser or a colour television. 10 runners-up win a newspaper published on the day they were born. They all get a chance to compete for our grand prize, a pair of round-the-world air tickets. That's 0891 339900, and the lines stay open until midnight. And the answer to yesterday's question, the Beatles sang a song about a paperback writer.
And we'll let you have that question and the phone number once again as usual right at the end of the programme. On now to our video wall. There are 8 clips here, some more difficult to answer questions about than others, so you do have a choice. And as you can see, the clips are worth 5, 10 or 15 points. Angela and Dave, your choice, please.
Top, middle, Rupert the pair.
Top, middle for 10 points.
There have been 50 Rupert annuals and countless books now sought by Rupert historians and bibliographers who know every detail of the little bear's life and career. Alan Clark and his wife have a collection of Rupert publications which they say is priceless.
Nowadays, you have to pay fairly high prices from the book dealers. For a 5-shilling book 15 years ago, you might have to spend £100, £150 now, depending on which book it is.
A red letter day for Rupert, today in 1985. For 10 points, what type of dog is Rupert's friend Algie?
Dalmatian?
No, offer it to Desi and Derek.
It's a pug.
It is a pug, yes, and it's your choice.
Bottom right, please.
Bottom right for 15 points.
The Caryatids, the famous maidens of Athens, have attracted particular concern, with a UNESCO report earlier this year saying that soon nothing will be left of the spirit of the artist. A roof now protects them from the rain, and the molds being made are so replacements can be put up when the maidens are moved. As for whether Lord Elgin was justified in plundering the Acropolis, his supporters point out that the Caryatid in the British Museum is far less ravaged by time than her 5 sisters who have had to put up with the increasingly grimy air up on the Acropolis.
Crumbling Caryatids today in 1976. The interior of the Parthenon was destroyed when a powder magazine blew up during a bombardment in the 17th century. The Turks were occupying the Parthenon at the time. For 15 points, which city's forces were attacking them?
Constantinople.
No, offer it to Angela and Dave.
Which city?
Abacus.
Istanbul?
No, Venice. The forces of Venice were attacking them. Angela and Dave, your choice.
Go on, your turn.
Bottom left, please.
Bottom left for 15 points.
This championship is between 20 professional tasters, a pair from each of Europe's 10 leading wine-drinking countries. But the crucial thing here is who is most expert in the whole European range. Because the simplest part of this taxing test is not only for the tasters to say which of the 10 glasses in front of them are not from their own country, but to identify where the outsider wines do come from. And then they must further identify the wines in opaque red glasses, depriving them of the important evidence of colour.
An enophile Olympics today in 1973. For 15 points, which phrase printed on French wine labels guarantees that the wine has been produced at the stated location and meets the approved standards?
AC. Yeah. AC.
Standing for?
What's it mean?
Oh.
Appellation contrôlée.
Correct. Desi and Derek, your choice.
Middle right, please.
Middle right for 10 points.
For the discerning, the introduction of the new Blue Pig is one of the big breakthroughs this year. Thanks to the influence of the early British saddleback, the new Blue is almost entirely pink. But again, note the new lean line of the chassis. And not to be outdone by the motor show, the British Bacon Federation caught on to the latest selling techniques, a popular diversion for the farmers.
Bringing home the bacon today in 1971. For 10 points, when can ham be called gammon?
After it's been salted.
Yes, I'll give you that. It's when it is cured or smoked. Angela and Dave, your choice.
Middle left.
Middle left for 10 points.
570 yards from bank to bank, it's the largest movable flood barrier in the world, and today it was being shown off in action for the first time. To start with, all that could be seen were the huge concrete piers which house the hydraulic machinery. Then, gradually, the enormous steel gates were raised from their horizontal position on the riverbed to the vertical.
Keeping the Thames at bay today in 1982. For 10 points, which organisation owns and operates the Thames flood barrier?
Port of London Authority.
No, offer it to Desi and Derek.
National Rivers Authority.
Is right, and it's your choice.
Middle, bottom, please.
Bottom middle for 10 points.
Butt stole not only to sell, but also to decorate his own flat. He was considerate too, say the police. Occasionally, he'd spend the night in a house, but always made the bed when he got up. He'd cook breakfast for himself too, but never forgot to wash the dishes. He wasn't averse to a drink or two either, but never cleared out the bar. He was also fond of cigars, but the ashtrays were always left clean. As he explained, it's bad enough breaking into somebody's house without leaving it in a mess.
A real-life Raffles today in 1978. For 10 points, who played the gentleman thief in the 1940 film Raffles?
Charles Lawton.
No, offer it to Angela and Dave.
David Niven.
Is correct, and it's your choice.
Top right, please.
Top right for 5 points.
Sunrise Village looks a nice, typical residential area for the lucky folk of Florida. But it's not quite typical. One of the houses is built upside down. Of course, trying to live in Maison mix-up calls for a private understanding with the force of gravity, in the hope that what goes down must come up. We're sure you'll take our word for it that living this way soon comes easy, and that there's no trickery on our part. Seeing is believing. At bedtime, she's so tired she could sleep anywhere. Kinda looks like she's got to. If we didn't know this was in Florida, we'd swear it was Australia.
A topsy-turvy townhouse today in 1960. In the children's book, The Twits, vengeful birds stick all the furniture of the odious Mr. and Mrs. Twit onto the ceiling. For 5 points, who wrote that story?
Roald Dahl.
Is correct. And Desi and Derek are left with top left for 5 points.
For 5 weeks, while the rest of this country has been trying to get a new vice president, losing an attorney general and a special prosecutor, Malcolm Forbes has been above it all, hanging in a wicker basket from a hot air balloon. His goal was to become the first person to cross this country, coast to coast. There was one slight problem. He didn't quite make it to the East Coast, if one must be technical. And there was another. He did not land on land. He landed in Chesapeake Bay, in the Chesapeake Bay.
Malcolm Forbes taking the plunge today in 1972. For 5 points, which part of the hot air balloon is known as the gondola?
The basket.
The basket is right. So at the end of that round, we find Angela and Dave on 88 points, still madly pursuing but not quite catching up with Desi and Derek, who are in the lead on 108. So it all hangs on our final round. Time to beat the clock. 60 seconds of questions about the 7th of November, but only one team member can play. And remember, our teams must score at least 140 to get onto our leaderboard. Desi, you're on the hot seat. Let's go. 60 seconds, starting now. Born today in 1949, who played Peggy in the TV sitcom Heidi High?
I don't know.
Sue Pollard. Today in 1962, the wife of Franklin D. Roosevelt died. Name her.
Eleanor.
Correct. Today in 1990, who was elected President of Ireland?
Mary Robinson.
Correct. Today in 1968, the drama The Portrait of a Lady was on TV. Who wrote the novel on which it was based?
I don't know.
Henry James. Born today in 1917, politician Helen Suzman is an outspoken activist in which country?
United States.
No, South Africa. Today in 1961, which singer was in the pop charts with the song Hit the Road Jack?
Ray Charles.
Correct. Born today in 1913, which French author wrote the novel The Plague?
De Maupassant.
No, Camus. Today in 1978, the boxer known as the Fighting Marine died. Name him.
I don't know.
Gene Tunney. Today in 1934, Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini was first performed. Which Russian composer and pianist wrote it?
I don't know.
Rachmaninoff. Today in 1989, the film The Rainbow was in cinemas. It was based on whose novel?
I don't know.
It was D.H. Lawrence. So, Angela, your target to beat is 138. Let's go. 60 seconds starting now. Born today in 1867, who discovered radium?
Marie Curie.
Correct. Today in 1992, Alexander Dubček died. He was the former Communist Party leader of which country?
Czechoslovakia.
Correct. Today in 1975, it was announced that which American heiress was to stand trial for armed robbery?
Patty Hearst.
Correct. Today in 1897, Herman J. Mankiewicz was born. He won a Best Original Screenplay Oscar with Orson Welles for which film?
Citizen Kane.
Correct. Today in 1959, which singer was in the pop charts with the song What Do You Want to Make Those Eyes at Me For?
Pass.
Emile Ford. Born today in 1963, John Barnes was captain of which league football team?
Manchester United.
No, Liverpool. Today in 1965, the play Ivanov was on the London stage. Who wrote it?
Chekhov.
Correct. Today in 1951, which singer married Ava Gardner?
Pass.
Frank Sinatra. Born today in 1918, which American evangelist is best known for his large-scale preaching tours?
Billy Graham.
Correct. In cinemas today in 1968... I'll finish the question. In cinemas today in 1968, which French comedy actor was starring in the film Playtime?
Can't think of one.
It was Jacques Tati. But you've done enough. Desi and Derek, you have ended our contest with 138 points. Angela and Dave have pipped you the post, coming from behind to take victory with 148. And that score of 148 means that Angela and Dave go on to our leaderboard in joint 7th place. But, of course, who knows whether you'll still be there by the time we get round to our quarterfinals. Fingers crossed, here's hoping. And you also take home the Today's the Day trophies and newspapers printed and published on the very days you were born. Deep commiserations to Desi and Derek. You leave with newspapers, and our thanks for being such splendid contestants. That's it for today. We're back on Monday at 5:30 here on BBC Two, as usual, with 2 more teams. Do make a date and join me then. Bye for now.
And a reminder of the Today's the Day phone question. Gloria Swanson talked about taking creativity into the kitchen today in 1968. In which classic 50s film did she play Norma Desmond? Was it A, Wall Street, B, Sunset Boulevard, or C, Tobacco Road? Call 0891 33 9900. Lines stay open till midnight.
This bonfire night